There was no trial, no hearing, no summons, not even a warning. 12 empires met in the shadow between galaxies, the Galactic Council, cloaked in gravitic silence and ancient contempt. Their chamber was obsidian black, suspended inside a Dyson shroud orbiting a neutron star. No sound escaped. No emotion leaked. Only decisions. The vote was simple. Silence Earth. The motion passed. 12-0. They didn't want war. Just obedience. The Terran expansion hadn't just resisted absorption into the galactic treaty system, it had mocked it. Spoke in metaphors. Sent diplomats who swore and smiled. Refused to standardize pronouns. Still wore leather jackets and played live music. And worst of all, they kept winning their wars. Human units fought like myths. One squad once held the Ozite Cliffs for 9 days without sleep. Another disabled an entire Hexarch dreadnought using only magnets and an old Earth rifle. Too chaotic. Too unstable. Too human. So the Council silenced Earth. Cut their comms. Blocked relay access. Shut down their Starnet connections. Terraforming rights revoked. No trade. No treaties. Just blacklisted. Quieted. Disconnected. The message was clear. Fall in line. Or fade out. They didn't expect Oath to send anyone back. Let alone him. Kale Strix had no call sign. No record. No rank. Just a profile buried in a defunded ghost program from Oath's darkest war. He wasn't built for diplomacy. He was a sniper. And Weiss, a beautiful one. Twinkling, 23, wrapped in matte black skinweave armor, hair silver and cut close. Pale violet eyes like the kind only saw death and never regretted it. The kind of soldier you sent when you wanted myths to happen. He didn't say much. He just stared, like he was already calculating where your skull would split. They called him the Reconnect. Not because he fixed comms. Because he eliminated whatever was in the way. Target, Trinexus 6. A major galactic relay moon orbiting the ruins of TYV. It was the hub that choked Earth's quadrant into silence. Millions of transmissions passed through its crystalline core every hour. It was guarded by Council personnel. Armed drones. Bio-locked firewalls. No entry zones. Earth wanted it live again. So Kale was sent. Alone. He dropped from orbit. No ship. No lander. Just a black-coated glider capsule, ejected at terminal velocity from an exo-orbiting stealth shell. Trinexus security never saw it. The capsule hit the moon's outer maintenance ring like a meteor and split clean through an old fuel vent. He emerged upside down, rifle in hand, already walking. Chimera. The rifle was custom. Earth-built. Coil-driven. Triple barrel. Silenced by quantum dampeners. It interfaced directly with Kale's nervous system. No scope needed. No trigger delay. When Kale looked at you, Chimera already knew how you'd die. The first kill was a Drex technician. Kale was behind him before he finished a yawn. One silent knife to the spine, one hand catching the limp body mid-collapse. No blood on the floor. No noise in the air. That's how it started. He moved through service tunnels like a virus in a bloodstream. Flickering in and out of sensiblind zones. Planting magnetic pulses. Spiking node readers with Terran code. Creating glitches that looped hallway cams and froze retinal scanners. The station didn't even realize it was being infiltrated until 4 engineers failed to check in. Then a patrol team went dark. By the time they sent drones, Kale had already entered the tower base. Trinexus 6 director was a Valari, 8 feet tall, chrome-skinned, and born in a gravitational crucible. She was bred for command. She did not scream. But when footage leaked in, low light, barely focused, she did something far worse. She paused. The image showed a hallway full of bodies. 6 council soldiers cut down with surgical brutality. One was missing a head. Another had been stapled to the wall with rail spikes. All of them had their throats marked. With a symbol. Old Terran. Hello. Red protocol initiated. Turrets activated. Doors locked. Reinforcements scrambled. Too late. Kale had already climbed 2 floors. Infiltrated a drone hangar. Crippled the security AI. Slipped 2 spike viruses into the relay's master loop. He wasn't just moving through the station. He was rewriting it. A Ixel strike team finally cornered him at Junction 12. 6 elite troopers. Bio-armored. Psionically linked. Faster than human reflex by a factor of 4. They didn't last 7 seconds. Kale used the walls. Ran up one, flipped over them, shot 2 midair. Chimera barked 0 decibel death into the next 3. The last tried to run. Kale didn't shoot him. He let him run. Screaming. Back to command. A message, walking. By the time Kale reached the Comspire's central shaft, the entire moon had shut down passenger transit. Gas vents filled lower levels. Kill fields activated. Command bots dropped from orbit. Didn't matter. Kale had done the math. He had 47 minutes left before full lockout. He needed 13. Inside the spire, wind howled through the magnetic field coils. The floor shimmered beneath crystalline panels. Satellites blinked high above. He walked calmly up the inner ring. Chimera on his back. The second-to-last floor had 2 guards, heavy gunners in grave boots. They spotted him and opened fire. Kale leaned sideways, let the plasma rip past. Returned 2 shots. 1 to the eye. 1 to the throat. Didn't even break pace. The top of the tower was open air. No dome. The relay dish pulsed at its center, glowing blue and red. Guarded by 3 final enforcers. Mech augmented. Freeze. One screamed. Weapon locking. Kale blinked. Chimera sang. 3 shots in 2 seconds. 3 bodies dropped. He stepped to the core. Unshouldered the final round. Loaded it with quiet precision. Anticore, nanite-spliced, EM destabilizer. Earth tech. Illegal. Beautiful. He stared down the scope. Paused. And said one thing. You should have let her speak. Pulled the trigger. The round hit the central nexus like a fist from a dying god. Blue flame tore the sky. Every dish on the moon blew out. Signals ruptured across 2 quadrants. Light flickered from the surface like a second sunrise. The galactic network screamed. Earth's voice came back online. And with it, every Terran colony, every blacklisted unit, every angry outpost. Connected. Awake. Ready. Kale didn't run. He stewed on the smoking spire, wind ripping at his armor, one hand still on Chimera. Bleeding from 3 places. Breathing slow. A fleet was coming. He didn't care. The silence was over. The Council's emergency session had no pleasantries. No titles. No ceremony. Just rage. 12 Empire representatives hovered in static thrones above the obsidian chamber, their neural augments pulsing with suppressed alarm. The stars outside the Dyson Veil flickered like a battlefield's last gasps. Trinexus 6 was offline. Earth was loud again. One man, spat Arch-kept Zyral, a creature made of crystalline nerves and coiled blood steel. One man did this. No. A Terran, hissed Sovinkar, a Myarith tactician who once vaporized a moon to make a point. You underestimated what they become when you back them into silence. No council order authorizes Earth's retaliation. And none authorize them to bleed through protocol and rewrite a galactic relay. What's his name? Kale Strix. The name fell like a hammer. Dead program. No trace. No digital echo. A sniper from an unrecorded war. Mentioned once in a Terran leak file under the codename Whisper Reaper. He wasn't a soldier. He was a curse. Kill him, Carr ordered. Burn the relay. Sanction Earth. And risk war. War is coming either way. The chamber dimmed. Consensus buzzed through invisible threads. Activate cleansing protocol, saw response. They would respond the only way the Council knew how. With fire. Earth's defenses lit up within the hour. Every orbital weapon shroud activated. Deep sky interceptors pulled from low-power hibernation. Antimatter lances charged in the crust of the Martian divide. But the Council strike didn't come straight to Sol. It moved sideways. They sent Walk-in to Nova Cestus, a frontier colony orbiting the edge of Terran space, still under partial construction. Civilian. Unarmed. Earth's connection, they had just come online thanks to Kale Shot. So the Council silenced it again. With orbital bombardment. They didn't issue demands. Didn't offer time. Just launched 6 fusion lances from a stealth cruiser 900,000 kilometers out. The colony never stood a chance. 8,000 civilians gone in under 3 seconds. Broadcasted live. A warning. But Earth didn't apologize. Earth responded. Not with fleets. Not with diplomats. But with a boy in white armor. His name was HFY. 17. Soft-voiced. Still had eyeliner smeared under his helmet from the sleep he didn't finish. Carried a sniper rifle twice his weight and a sidearm stolen from a council prison. He wasn't on any roster. He volunteered. Because the colony they burned, that was his brother's home. And nobody touches Earth's blood without consequence. He dropped onto ZYX Theta, a council-controlled listening station meant to intercept Terran resistance before it formed. Underground. Cold. Guarded by psychic sentries and thumb-optic drones. Elith moved like a spark. In through the atmospheric duct with a cryo-slick harness. Under motion sensors, bypassing temperature fields by microdosing his body with frost suppressors. No sound. No glitch. He wasn't fast. He was precise. First kill was a council lieutenant. Straight through the third eye. Then a shadow guard lost his jaw mid-turn. Elith didn't use tech like Kale. No internal targeting. No spinal-linked weaponry. He relied on spite. The station went into hard lockdown within minutes. Too late. Elith had already uploaded a viral packet, coded by Terran netpunks, that turned the station's auto-turrets into traitors. They fired backward. Into barracks. Into hangars. He made the guards kill themselves without touching a trigger. Then he lit a flare. Not to escape, but to say, I'm here. He reached the upper server ring before anyone caught him. A half-mech enforcer punched him through a door, crushed part of his ribs, drove a shock blade into his thigh. Elith smiled blood through his teeth. Tell the council. He rammed a thermite grenade into the enforcer's chest. You owe my brother a planet. Boom. The station burned for 3 days. Terran graffiti carved into its glass. We don't do silence. Back on Earth, the message was received loud. Not just by governments, but by people. Miners from Europa volunteered for war career routes. Rogue hackers from Neptune sliced into council black boxes. A boy band from Mars live-streamed an anti-council song that hit 30 billion views in under an hour. The twinks were awake now. Beautiful. Angry. Armed. The council, reeling from the ZYX station loss, didn't hesitate. They authorized Kill Order 12. Find the sniper. Find the pretty one. End them in front of every camera. They sent Revenant 0. An unkillable weapon wrapped in human skin. Bio-grown from 3 war species. Fed hate in liquid form. Designed to out-snipe snipers. Trained in void pressure. Nerves sodded with graphene-laced silver. He didn't talk. He just found you. And made you not exist. They dropped him onto the ruins of Trinexus 6. Kale had long since left, but his signature still echoed through the wreckage. Revenant moved slow. Picked up the blood. Touched the walls. Smelled the bullet powder, still staining the air. He didn't chase. He stalked. Meanwhile, Kale was already en route to the Vazari Dead Vault, the last place on record where Oath stored its Council encryption skeleton keys. A frozen planet. Council lockdown zone. No surviving access codes. But Kale didn't need codes. He needed eyes. And he had one. Vex. Terran. 19. Rogue Augment. Twink. Wired into 6 networks at once. Painted his lips silver just because he could. He wasn't a soldier. He was a cyberknife. You know this is suicide, Vex said, pulling cables from his spine, slipping on fingerless gloves. Didn't say live forever, Kale replied, checking Chimera's magnetic charge. You didn't even say please. I brought you coffee. Vex smirked. Black. Kale nodded. Then I'm in. They landed on Vazari in a flak-riddled drop skiff stitched from Oathmar's junk. Every council sensor flagged them on entry. But they were already slicing the vault by then. Vex worked from under a cloak of interference. Neural pulse humming through his skull like a jazz solo from hell. Kale covered every direction. Eyes scanning. Rifle humming. They made it 10 levels down before the alarms changed. No longer defensive. Now, hunting. Revenant 0 had arrived. He didn't come through doors. He tore through walls. Kale turned just as a 10-ton slab of frost metal flew past his head. Vex ducked, rolled, started screaming code into the vault's mainframe. Buy me time. Kale faced the Revenant. Twink versus Terra. They fought in silence. No war cries. No music. Just movement. Chimera clashed with antimatter claws. Shots ricocheted off reinforced bone. Kale bled. Revenant burned. The walls cracked. The snow howled. One moment, Revenant had Kale's neck in his grip. The next, Vex slammed the vault open. Now. Kale dropped. Spun. Fired 3 times. 1 missed. 2 didn't. The final round hit Revenant's spinal node. He twitched. Froze. Then. Vault is open, Vex whispered. Earth's got its keys back. Kale didn't finish Revenant. Just left him twitching in the snow. They had what they came for. And the war? It was about to begin in full. The Vazari vault breach shattered a century of Council encryption. Within 30 minutes of Kale and Vex escape, 12 classified networks cracked open. Diplomatic transcripts. Weapon schematics. Battle plans. Execution orders. None of it redacted. All of it streamed. Earth didn't hide it. They broadcasted it live. Every screen across human colonies lit up with the phrase, "They burned our sky. Now we burn their secrets." The footage was raw. Council members laughing over silencing Earth. Casual mentions of targeting civilians. Plans to reprogram future Terrans. Worse, audio logs of the Nova Cestus attack, complete with countdowns, launch telemetry, and one officer muttering they won't even scream. People didn't get mad. They revolted. Across 12 colonies, riots sparked like wildfire. Young Terrans took to the streets wearing silver eyeliner and black jackets, the mark of the ghost sniper. Vex livestreams got clipped into war anthems. Kale's silence became legend. Twinks with no military rank started organizing resistance cells using Council software against itself. One Twink sniper from Venus hit a Council cruiser with an Earth-made railgun from orbit. They called themselves the Echo Protocol. Their motto? You silenced Earth. Now hear us scream. Back at Council Prime, the fracture lines deepened. Sovenkar called for total war. Arch kept Zyral wanted containment. Others wanted diplomacy. Sanction, not slaughter. The Terrans had exposed them. Sure, but annihilation? That would make martyrs out of myths. Too late. The myths were already marching. Earth's first real counterattack hit the Ravenfold, a Council mining colony 9 systems out from Luna. It powered a third of the war effort. Fortified. Dreadnought protected. No clear weakness. But it had one flaw. It trusted Council intel. And Council intel said Earth had no fleet in range. What they didn't account for. Wraithpack 9. Wraithpack 9 wasn't a navy. It was a crew of 6 ships, jury-rigged from stolen haulers, retrofitted with antigrave torpedoes and rail lances. Pilots who'd been expelled from Earth's Academy for insubordination. Twinks with criminal records, stolen credentials, and zero interest in following orders. They didn't come to win a war. They came to prove Earth still bites. They emerged from fold space 20 kilometers above Raventh. No warning. No signal. The lead ship, Barbed Halo, tore through orbital defenses with a modified mining laser. Its pilot, a boy named Crux, 30 kilos underweight and emotionally unstable, laughed over open comms as he scorched the cruiser shielding. "This is for Nova Cestus. You Council F *********. The station returned fire. Didn't matter. The Wraiths fought like lunatics. Precision drunk. Each ship danced between blasts like it was personal. They didn't care if they died, as long as the Council bled first. Crux made it to the core reactor chamber. Flew through the mining shaft. Fired one rail round laced with Terran fissile destabilizers. The colony went dark in under 6 minutes. Over 5 million credits of Council infrastructure, gone. The Council retaliated. They always did. But not smartly. They sent a declaration of extermination. Public. Sanctioned. Genocide. Framed as Terran cleansing. And Earth? They responded not with apology, but with Kale's bullet. See, while Wraithpack 9 was burning through Raventh, Kale Strix had vanished again. Some thought he died. Others thought he was preparing. But in truth, he'd infiltrated Ether Citadel, the Council's deepest military intelligence facility, located inside a compressed asteroid sealed inside a black hole orbit. No entry. No exit. No light. No trace. Except Kale didn't use doors. He used a jump frame. Jump frames were band tech, quantum tunneling coils that let you blink through walls at catastrophic metabolic cost. One jump aged your body a month. Kale made 9. When he reached the Citadel's command spire, he was bleeding from his nose, gums, and both eyes. Didn't stop him. Didn't slow him. Chimera loaded. Last round custom-coded by Vex. No sound. No flare. Only one purpose. Kill the one behind the purge. High Executive Vael Nocturne stood behind a starlit wall of holoscreens, watching Oath burn in real time. He sipped imported liquors. Gave death orders like music notes. Kale put a round through his third heart mid-sentence. Nocturne didn't scream. Didn't fall. He just vanished. Broadcasted live. Intercepted and spliced by Vex. Played on every screen on Council Prime. This is for the ones you silenced. Now it wasn't just a war. It was a reckoning. Kale collapsed 40 minutes later in the ruins of a forgotten Terran outpost on Thalassa Prime. Stumbled in. Passed out cold on a med table while his vitals blinked red. He should have died. Instead, he woke up to Elith via stitching him up, face smudged with ash and blood, eyeliner smeared but eyes bright. Couldn't let the council kill a legend. Kale coughed blood. Sat up. You're a kid. And you're a corpse. Guess we're even. They grinned at each other. Then went back to war. The council deployed Reaper-class units in retaliation. City killers. Each one 7 meters tall, laced in anti-light plating, programmed to eliminate Terran DNA on sight. But something changed. The Reapers didn't find panic. They found traps. Rigged streets. Radioactive ink mines. Twink snipers in holographic fields, luring them one by one into kill zones and vaporizing them. A boy named Jet took out 2 Reapers using only a rail spike, a mirror, and a pair of rollerblades. When interviewed later, he said, "They wanted Earth quiet. So I made noise." By the time the council realized the scale of the insurrection, it wasn't an insurrection anymore. It was a revolution. The next vote in the council chamber failed. First time in galactic history. 4 empires abstained. 3 outright defected to neutrality. 1 asked for terms. Sovinkar smashed his throne into the wall and declared war on the defectors too. If Ith wants to burn stars, then let's show them how we scorch worlds. Back on Ith, Kale stood at the edge of a launch pad, blood cleaned, armor repaired, rifle humming. Next to him, Elith, Vex, Jet, Crux, all of them ready. Twinks, snipers, ghosts, not waiting for permission, just waiting for the sky to open again. The jump burns hadn't healed. Kale's arms were wrapped in regen film, skin still smoldered from the quantum aftershock. His breath came shallow. His heart lagged by 2 seconds, skipping beats like a broken metronome. Every nerve in his body whispered, "Die. Sleep. Let go." He didn't. Because this war wasn't over. It was only now turning honest. Above Earth's lunar shadow, a new ship hung in orbit. It had no designation, no registry, no name. Just a black hole covered in chalk-white tally marks, each one for a dead council officer, each line etched by a different Terran hand. The Echo Ride was a floating grave promise, built from ruined dreadnoughts, wired with salvaged war cores, piloted by vengeance. And Kale stood at its helm. Beside him, Elith Via sat with one leg up on the console, chewing on raw caffeine gum, rifle leaning against his shoulder. A blood-stained sash hung from his belt like a trophy, the personal cloth of a Reaper unit commander. Crux tuned the rail systems. Jet cleaned his mirrored blade with glitter polish and humming disdain. Vex wasn't there. He was already inside the council's throat. They called the target Echelon Spire, the central nervous system of the council's war grid. Not a fortress. A cathedral of code and fire. Hovered in deep silence orbit over a dead star. 5 AI gods spun its perimeter. Each one was a relic of the pre-void wars, cold, calculating, omniscient. No one breached it. No one even tried. Until Earth got pissed. Vex went first. Dove into the spire's outer firewalls using a neural blade, a wet wire sword he plugged into his own spine, channeling lightning into lines of code. Every firewall he cracked came at a cost, Seizures, blood trickling from his ears, vision ghosting. Almost there, he rasped into the comms. Status. Kale asked. I just shut off God. He collapsed forward, twitching, smiling as the final AI flickered offline. Echelon Spire was blind. And Earth was coming through the front door. The Echo Wraith folded into silent space like a ghost hammer. Cloaked in the hull fragments of old council ships, it slipped past 6 orbital defenses before the alarms even had time to think. By the time they started firing, Crux had already dropped an antimatter torpedo through their solar vein. The Spire reeled. Kale and the team dropped straight into hell. No formation. No caution. Just rage. Jet landed first, slicing a fire team clean in half before his boots hit the floor. His blades sang like jazz through synth bone and armor plating. Crux followed, dual-wielding plasma casters, screaming, "You feel that, Nova Cestus." The corridors were built for calm and order. Instead, they lit up in red, sirens echoing, bodies piling, council officers running not toward the fight, but away from it. Kale moved like a shadow with a soul. His shots didn't echo. They ended. Every trigger pull was a sentence. A name crossed off a list. No wasted motion. No double taps. He didn't fire unless it killed. Elith backflipped through a force field, kicked a high-ranking strategist into an engine coil, then blew the power grid with a frag charge duct taped to a music player blasting his brother's last favorite track. Your silence ends here, he spat over the burning consoles. They split the Spire in half, floor by floor, cutting it down like a dying god. In the lower data vaults, Vex reappeared, face half-burned, blood streaking down his temple. I got the Council's war map, he said, limping, dragging his neural blade behind him like a leash. Every ship, every base, every key. Upload to Earth, Kale ordered. Already did. And Vex grinned, spitting blood on the floor. They are sending everything. But the Council wasn't done. Deep in the Spire's core was a failsafe. A living AI war construct, built from the minds of 3 executed Terran prisoners, now reshaped and reprogrammed into a single voice. Virelux, the Spire's last defense. Ascension scream. It appeared as a humanoid figure wrapped in logic fire and black voxlight, stepping through the shattered core chamber. Its voice came in octaves. Terrans. Errors. Worms. Misfires of evolution. This construct was built from your dead. Now it returns you to them. Jet/first. Didn't connect. Virelux moved without moving, glitching space, stepping sideways between seconds. Crux unloaded every round. Useless. Kale didn't speak. He loaded Chimera with a white core shell. 1 round, forged from Council Prime Crystal. 1 name carved on the side, for Myra. He fired. The shot struck Virelux mid-glitch. It exploded into silence. The core collapsed. The Spire lost gravity. Every council signal went black. Kale floated in the chaos, looking down at the system's map Vex projected mid-freefall. It was beautiful. Every star the council had claimed, now blinking red. Every system now exposed. Every vulnerable command line. He didn't smile. He aimed the next jump. Back on Council Prime, the chamber was chaos. Reports came in from every outpost. Terran cells rising. Echo Protocol had reached the Galactic Rim. Rebel species emboldened. Council fleets in retreat. This is not a war, Arch kept Zyril hissed. This is a funeral we didn't plan. Then we bury Oath with it. They issued one last order. Obliteration Protocol. Strip Earth Sun. Burn the planet. Make it silence again. Kale heard it. Because he had already sliced into their feeds. He stood on the outer hull of a council comm tower orbiting the Echelon ruins, blood on his boots, cloak flapping in vacuum. No comms. No helmet. Just a raw audio feed and a voice they all knew. You want to silence us. We already own your words. You want to burn Ith. Then come try. He lifted Chimera. Fired one last tracer shot into the council's relay array. It carved a sigil into their throne signal. Skull and crossbones, Earth speaks now skull and crossbones. The sun was bleeding. Not metaphorically. Literally. Over Sol's corona, the council's star harvester rigs had begun fusion spike deployment, burrowing claws into the sun's core, twisting it open like a wound. The obliteration protocol had launched. Within hours, Earth's orbit would collapse into thermal madness. Seas would boil. Skies would flay. Life would be erased. No second warnings. No diplomacy. No mercy. Earth didn't plead. They launched everything. The Echo Protocol fled across every resistance cell. Fractured navies linked through Vex code. Cities once forgotten now bristled with stolen cannons, smuggled rail cars, and makeshift orbital turrets. But they weren't trying to stop the harvester rigs. They were just buying kale time. The plan was madness. Reach the Council Core, the heart-forged throne world itself, buried under planetary shields, defended by God-class dreadnoughts, surrounded by a planet-sized fortress of ice, fire, and steel. But the Spire's death had gifted Earth a map. And Kale didn't need an army. He just needed one shot. The infiltration started in silence. Crux and Jet led the drop team in on an asteroid fragment, riding orbital debris through the throne world's defense lattice. 14 anti-air towers opened fire. 10 blew up from redirected missiles. The other 4 misfired when Elith hacked their targeting protocol midfall. The team hit Dote and fire. Twinks scattered like demons unleashed, slicing through patrols, planting charge packs, setting traps. They weren't there to win. They were there to let Kale walk in. Kale came through last. Chimera slung over his back. Face pale. Armor patched. One eye stitched. The other burning silver. He'd bled in every system this war touched. Watched Vex nearly die. Watched Earth's skies catch fire. Watched silence kill more than bullets ever could. Now he walked toward the voice that had ordered it all. The Heartforge wasn't a palace. It was a mausoleum of stars. Throne etched from neutron stone. Walls carved from extinct worlds. Council lords stood in rows of obsidian armor, emotionless, towering, watching him approach like vermin they'd allowed too far. At the center, Sovan Ka, last high strategist. Warborn in the cinders. 3 meters tall, plated in living alloy. Face split by a scar earned when he'd killed his own brother during the Oath Sanction vote. He rose from the throne like a mountain breaking off the ground. You should have stayed dead, Terran. Kale didn't speak. He reached for Chimera. Ka moved first. The throne chamber exploded into motion. Ka's arm shifted into a gravity cannon, the shot blasting the floor into shards. Kale leapt, tumbled, rolled sideways under the shockwave, and fired 3 rounds. 1 pinged off Ka's chest plate. 1 missed. The 3rd shattered a visor on a council guard. That guard stumbled, dropped his plasma pike. Kale kicked it into Ka's path, buying a second. The room descended into total violence. Jet smashed through a skylight, flipping mid-E, his blade carving through the council on a guard. Elith stormed through a side gate with dual scatter rifles, laughing and screaming music lyrics, blowing guards apart with every jump. Crux locked the main door behind them, booby-trapped it, and yelled, "Everyone in this room dies." Vex's voice rang through the comms. "I've rerouted the council comms. Your fights live. Whole galaxies watching." Ka snarled, pulling a warhammer from thin air, a micro-black hole core spinning at its center. He swung it at Kale. Kale ducked. The hammer missed by inches, but the gravity sucked air and dust sideways. Kale rolled into a slide, pulled Chimera, and fired point-blank. The round hit Ka's knee joint. Metal shattered. The warlord stumbled. Kale didn't cheer. Didn't blink. He chambered another round, Vex last tracer. It hummed. Fused with a string of codes. "What is that?" Ka growled, limping forward. "Your voice," Kale muttered, but backwards. He fired. The tracer didn't hit Ka. It hit the throne, which exploded in a storm of signal static and shrieking code. Vex had turned the throne's processor into a feedback loop. Every word Ka ever spoke, every kill order, every sanction, every command, now screamed back into his neural core in reverse. Ka dropped to his knees, clutching his skull. Blood ran from his eyes. His armor cracked. His body twitched and spasmed. "Make it stop," he begged. Kale didn't. He walked forward and fired 1 final bullet through Ka's head. No hesitation. No pause. The warlord's body fell, burning, his last scream echoing across the galaxy. The chamber fell silent. Elith coughed blood, dragging his foot. Jet leaned on his blade, arm broken. Crux collapsed against a wall, laughing breathlessly. Kale looked at them. Status. Winning, Elith grinned. But it wasn't done yet. Outside, the Council's solar harvester had completed final synchronization. Its core charged. Its thrusters fled. It aimed at Sol. One beam. 1 minute. Earth's sun would become a nova. Vex's voice crackled in. We need a detonation inside the rig. Core detonation. Suicide run. Nobody hesitated. Jet limped toward the evac ship. Give me the spike. No, Crux said. I've got it. Neither of you, Kale said. He took the bomb from Crux's hands. This is mine. No one argued. They all knew. The rig was orbiting high above the kill zone. Kale launched on a stealth drone, riding debris as cover, diving through the gravity net of the harvester. He didn't dodge shots. He let the armor burn. By the time he landed in the core shaft, his suit was down to 10% integrity. His left leg was shattered. His breathing shallow. But he planted the spike. Hardwired it. Set the timer. And then, he opened the comms, broadcasting everything to the Council's network. You wanted silence. You murdered our worlds. You erased our names. But we survived. We spoke. And now we scream. He looked down at Earth one last time, just a distant blue spark behind the corona flare. He didn't cry. Didn't smile. He just whispered. Tell Vex the rifles is now. And he detonated the core. The explosion carved a hole through the sun harvester's heart. It buckled inward, then cracked into 5 pieces, each one collapsing into its own gravitational anomaly. No solar spike fired. Earth's sun flared bright. And stayed whole. Back on Earth, screens blinked out. Then blinked back on. The message? Kale Strix is gone. But Earth still fires. In the years that followed, the Council fell. Without their warlords. Without their fear machine. Without silence. The galaxy changed. Treaties burned. New coalitions formed. And at the center of it all, a legend. A ghost with a rifle. A sniper who never listened. His name carved on every rebel banner. His silence turned into war. His bullet turned into revolution.